Hello, long time no see. It's your favorite internet weirdo here with another review of the Great British Show and Be. Let's get started. So, first things first, let's talk about the new host. We have a new host. This will be the fourth host of the show. It is Kyle. Um, I think he did a pretty good job. He did have I did have some difficulties hearing him when I was first watching it the first time. Um, like with background noise and stuff, he's got a deeper voice so that it doesn't stand out as much for me. But thank goodness for subtitles. Yay. Um, so I feel like he was less openly or obviously silly for the most part. And I felt like he was somewhat less obtrusive than some of the more like comedian based hosts that we've had in the past. Like the shticks can be a little, um, I guess, annoying, so to speak. But I thought he did a really good job. We'll have to see. He's not necessarily from a big comedy background. He was great on Taskmaster. He was hilarious. But we will have to see whether or not that's a good or bad thing. So we'll see. So now this is season 10, and there's a lot of nods to the very first episode, and I thought that was really nice to see. And that was incorporated starting with the pattern challenge. The first pattern challenge of the season is an A-line denim skirt. It had been updated from the very first episode, which was just like an A-line skirt. There was some top stitching, buttons, things that needed to be done. And there were 12 new sewists, and they had 3 hours and 15 minutes to complete it. Is this something that I would do? I would definitely try this challenge. I will say I am not a time-based person. I have projects that I have not completed that I started years ago. I am definitely one of those multiple projects, not a lot of finished objects sort of people. But that's how a lot of crafters are. I will say I do have ADHD, and I'm not neurotypical, I'm neurodivergent, so completing projects are not my strong point. And therefore, I would never be on a competition based, time based television show. I would not put myself through that. Not even on one of my best days, let alone like my worst day. So we'll come to that really. But I would definitely attempt it. It's got a few little bits of fiddly bits for the pattern. Like I've never really done top stitching, but I would definitely give it a go. However, watching this pattern challenge was a complete and utter waste of time for me. I was very embarrassed. It was a bad start to the season. It really was. I felt like there were a lot of time management issues, and maybe they just picked a poor grouping of amateur shows from the British public this year. Maybe the pool got smaller. Maybe after the pandemic, less people were interested in doing things like that. I'm just hoping that it gets better as the season progresses, because even the winner for the challenge didn't complete the pattern. Like there was no completed sewing pattern by any of the sewists at all. So if even the winner doesn't complete a pattern challenge, that's saying a lot. I don't feel like the pattern challenge was specifically made to be that much harder than any of the other seasons. And I think it's really, from what I remember, I think it's the first time that nobody's completed a pattern challenge, at least in the regular series of the show, not like any of the celebrity series or anything like that. But it sets the tone for the show, and it doesn't really bode well. And it did not make me go, I'm looking forward to the show. I was honestly embarrassed for the sewist, and the whole situation was kind of cringe because, like, you choose to go on a competition show. You signed up for the competition show. You know that it's going to be time based. You know that you're going to have your time management skills on point as well as your sewing skills on point. And that was lacking for a lot of people. So I was personally embarrassed for the people who were on the show. In the end, Pasha did get first place. Hers looked the most complete, even though it really wasn't complete. And Susie got last. But honestly, for me, they could have all been in last place. But the format of the show dictates that there has to be a winner and there has to be a loser. So we'll just move on. So then we went into the transformation challenge. And with the transformation challenge, each sewist got a chance to do take three t-shirts, up to three t-shirts, and create, and they wanted them to create a different silhouette. This is another nod to the first season, the first episode, first season of the show, because they were all given a t-shirt. According to Patrick, they were given a t-shirt and they were asked to change the neckline. So they were all given three t-shirts. They wanted them to change the silhouette. They didn't want it to look like a t-shirt at the end, which makes perfect sense. They've got their 90 minutes as always. But for me, the transformation wasn't wide and varied. Obviously, you go, a lot of times when you've only got 90 minutes, you go with your first thought. And a lot of people's first thoughts were skirts and dresses. And that's what we got, is a lot of skirts and dresses. And we got one hat. In previous reviews I've done like a what's the most out of the box transformation, and I would have to say it's the hat by all means. Like when you've got skirt, skirt, dress, skirt, 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 dress, you've got a hat, and it's like, who thinks of a hat? It's a bucket hat, and that's what the person made. And it stood out to me. But also, how do you judge a hat against all these skirts and dresses? Like, how do you, I think he got like seventh place, but like, how do you even rank him amongst all these things? It's a completely different character. It's a completely different monster altogether. So I felt like that was very difficult to do, but it was the most out of the box. And in the end, Susie did win the transformation challenge. It was a very beautiful transformation. It definitely deserved to win. And then Neil, of course, was last place because he basically made a dress that still looked like a shirt. So it was like a shirt dress. But he just didn't meet the brief. There's a few people who made the shirts look like skirts, but they were skirts, but they were still simple, and they fell down to the bottom. So then we move on to the made to measure. With the made to measure, the skill was to make a casual day dress. They had 5 hours to make a casual day dress. Probably not of time for a big construction. But again, it's another nod to the first episode of the show, in which they made to measure was to make a dress. Everything just felt very chaotic during the entire episode. But specifically during the made to measure, everyone just seemed to be very all over the place. No one seemed to be capable of actually completing the project or putting a good polish, or as the famous Paul Hollywood from the Bake Off would say, finessing their actual finished product. So that was really, really annoying, distressing, upsetting, disappointing overall. I thought, just to call out a few people, I thought that Don had almost clawed it back from his sort of disappointing beginnings. He had a really nice shirt, a really nice dress. It was self-drafted. He put in good days, but he didn't finish the hem. Like, I was like, oh, that has the potential to be like garment of the week. And then they went, but you didn't finish the hem. And I was like, come on. Okay, this is going to be a long slog. And the other one was Comfort. I thought Comfort had a beautiful dress. And I think the fabric really made the dress for Comfort. But she insisted on having those pockets in there, even when she realized that the pockets weren't sitting right and they were lumpy. And that really distracted from the overall silhouette of the dress and the niceness of it. And it was commented on. The judges even commented on it. In the end, it was won by Susie with her duvet dress. They felt like it was innovative and out of the box to use the duvet in the way she did, and matching the colors and the prints and everything on it the way she did. And they sent Neil home. If do I agree with those decisions? Absolutely not. I don't think that Susie's dress was so striking or outstanding. I actually thought that Janet had a better dress. Maybe it's because it was springy, it had pops of colors. I felt like she deserved to win more. But of course, I'm not the judge. And they've got years of sewing experience. I'm just sitting over here in a craft room, half-assing it most of the time, and only doing it every so often. And then they ended up sending Neil home. I understand why they sent him home. Um, because his dress, like the color and everything, wasn't great. But his dress was complete. And the reason I don't agree with the decision is because literally we watched as time was called. Elsa still had her skirt portion of her dress on the sewing machine. She was literally still like stitching as they call time. And my understanding of the show has always been that you need to have your dresses on your models, or finishing up the final touches of having the dresses on the models. Her dress was 100% incomplete. Like, the skirt portion of the dress and the top portion of the dress weren't connected. She was using safety pins. And it feels like, even though Neil did not have the color quite right in his zipper and everything, was sort of jacked up. Let's be honest. He had a completed object. He had a completed product. He wasn't hanging on. His dress wasn't put together just by safety pins alone. And I think that is um that's really hard for me to get over. I don't feel like Neil should have been the one to leave this week. I feel like it should have been Elsa. However, the plus side is we don't have to see the creepy ventriloquist doll anymore, because that was the stuff of nightmares, like literally. Um, it shows up early in the show. It doesn't show up again, but like you still think about it, and it's just like, why did you? Well, no, don't do that. So we don't have to see the ventriloquist dummy anymore, and Susie does get garment of the week. Um, but I feel like overall, this was a very bad first episode. I've seen every season of the Great British Sewing Bee, and I have never been so disappointed. I feel like they did not put their best foot forwards. They knew that they were coming onto a competition based sewing show that has a time based challenge to it. And I don't feel like they were prepared for that. Least of all, for the made to measure, that's the one area that you know ahead of time what they're expecting from you. You know that it's going to be a casual day dress. You're not having to think it up on the spot and create the pattern and make the dress. The only thing that you have to worry about is how can you fit what you're making to a person. And honestly, even then, if you've never done made to measure to a person, you've got a little bit of time. Find a person, go, hey, can I take your measurements? Make the item, get them back, hey, can you try this on? And sort of learn from those types of mistakes. And again, I say this, I'm not a big sewer. My primary thing is I'm a spinner. I can knit, I can crochet, I can sew, but primarily I'm a spinner. And that's where I would put, that's where I would put my knowledge base being. But I do a little bit of sewing. I do like watching these shows. And I don't think these people were ready to be on a time-based competition show. Their time management on every single challenge was very poor. And I just don't feel like they put their best foot forward. So it feels a little disappointing. It's a disappointing start. Maybe it get better. Who knows? There's I believe 10 episodes or 8 or 10 episodes. But there's so many episodes to go. The second one's already out, and I'll be doing a review of that shortly. I apologize for the delay on this one. But anyway, let me know your thoughts. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Let me know in the comments. Who do you think should have gone home? Who do you think should have stayed? Do you think Patrick and Esme made the right decision? Let me know in the comments, and hopefully I will be back with more unsolicited commentary in the future. And I will see you later. Y'all have a good day. I appreciate you watching. Bye.